Yes, this is the beginning of the next a new session. This is a special meeting, which is to hear the views of the public on the consultation document on the methods for selecting the CE by Universal Suffrage. I will invite the participants to speak according to the list. You will be given 3 minutes each. There is a buzzer. After 3 minutes, the buzzer will be sounded, and then you have to stop when you hear the buzzer. I want to remind you that whether it is your speech or your written submission, you are not protected by the Legislative Council Powers and Privileges Ordinance. When you speak, please move closer to the microphone to enable us to hear you more clearly. We have simultaneous interpretation. There is Cantonese, English, and Putonghua interpretation. Let me also remind those who are in this room or in the public gallery, we've already given you a piece of paper, the instructions on security measures of this council. Please pay attention to this, and please also cooperate. After the groups and individuals have spoken, I will invite Mr. Lau Kwong-wah, the Undersecretary for Constitutional and Mainland Affairs, to respond. And then I will open the floor to members to see what questions they want to ask. This session will end at 5 to 4. The first speaker, Mr. Leung Ping Kim. Hong Kong has been reunited with China for many years. Discussion on political reform is not a new issue. There is the issue of double universal suffrage, one person, one vote. What is the consensus? Now the community has been discussing this for a very long time. There's a clear direction. I firmly believe that the majority respect the law, uphold the rule of law. This is Hong Kong's cornerstone for long-term stability and prosperity. Hong Kong upholds the basic law. We are authorized by the NPCSC. We can therefore implement a high degree of autonomy and enjoy independent judiciary and independent legislation. The decision of the 31st August by the NPCSC is the basis for implementing universal suffrage for the selection of CE in 2017. The electoral system has to be fully understood by the public and have to get the involvement of the public in order to make it meaningful. Members of the public have participated in all levels of elections, say district council election, and also legislative council elections, elections of the election committee. There are different political parties participating in those elections, and the representatives of different sectors have been elected by such a system. This shows the plurality in the system. Not a single faction or party can get all the votes. The pro-establishment, the Democrats, the extremists all have representatives. Is it pluralistic? Is it just an election within a small circle? Even in the election of the CE, not only a candidate of a single color stands for election. There are pro-establishment and pro-democrats in the CE election. different candidates from different parties can participate in the elections. I have the following views towards the CE of the election CE. As for the number of members in the nomination committee, 1,200. I agree with that. That was the decision of the NPCSC on the 31st of August. There should be 38 subsectors. Next, Ms. Xie Xin. I support the decision of the NPCSC on the 31st of August, and I also support the basic law in respect of selecting the CE in 2017. As for the formation of the nomination committee, the nomination committee should be formed according to the present arrangement of the election committee. There will be 4 sectors, each sector 300 members. This is the clear decision of the NPCSC on the 31st of August. And the subsectors should be maintained just like those of the election committee. That's in line with the legislative intent of the basic law. The basic law requires the nomination committee and the election committee to be broadly representative. So maintaining the present setup is appropriate. And in fact, it has been operated over the years and has been widely accepted. And therefore, that's what we should do. As for the number of members within the subsectors, they should be maintained as well. That is in line with the need to have universal suffrage. Any change in a subsector will affect the other subsectors. Interests involved are too wide and broad, and it will be difficult to reach any consensus. Maintaining the 38 subsectors as they are, like the election committee, is a must. The formation of the nomination committee and will be based on the election committee of the 4th term of the CE. This is an important guiding principle. Thank you. Mr. Chair GK wants to give his view earlier because he has other engagements he wants to leave early. Mr. Chair GK, please. I thank the other speakers for their cooperation. I am an Eastern District Councillor. I have to deal with something in the district, so I want to speak first. In any society in which the rule of law prevails, any constitutional change should be based on the Constitution. Our political system should not depart from the basic law, which is our Constitution. The basic law is based on the Chinese Constitution. One country, two systems. Hong Kong people administering Hong Kong, one country, two systems are the basic principles. Article 45 of the Basic Law is very familiar to you all. I do not want to repeat that. In 2007, there was a decision of the NPCSC which allows Hong Kong to select the CE by one person, one vote in 2017. Whether it can be done depends on whether the package will get 2/3 support of the Council. We are holding the power in our own hands to make such a decision. People want to have the desired system, but any proposal that is unrealistic, which is not constitutional, will not be beneficial. Adopting adopting a view against the central people's government will bring you nowhere. We want to exercise universal and equal rights in the election. We should not be just marking time. I hope the Pan-Democrats will consider mainline public opinion, consider the interests of people of Hong Kong. Next, Mr. Teng Hin. Thank you, Chairman. I'm speaking on an important issue, the political reform of Hong Kong, the election of the CE and the election of the Legislative Council should comply with the basic law and the decisions of the NPCSC. We are a SAR of the CPG, of the PRC. We have one country, two systems, one country first, then two systems. Departing from one country, then there will be no two systems. NPCSC has the highest power in the world, in China. It has the power to make decisions pertaining to Hong Kong. The CE, the LegCo have no power to overturn the decisions of the NPCSC.
We have to follow the basic law and the NPCSC. Anything against the basic law or any request to overturn the NPCSC decision will not succeed. People say that Hong Kong issues should be resolved in Hong Kong. This is against one country, two systems. This is against the absolute ruling power on the part of the NPC. The present package may not be perfect, but it will be the first step towards democracy. After we have universal suffrage, we'll have broader recognition. Society is advancing, and the awareness of democracy will also be enhanced. I believe the central authorities will allow us to have a relatively perfect universal suffrage. If politically Hong Kong continues to get itself engaged in political struggle, will scare off investors and will no longer have peace. I don't want to see that happen, so please drop your preempted ideas and head towards universal suffrage. Mr. Kwok, as there's time constraint, I've actually submitted a written submission. Let me say something about the nominating committee here. We should have 4 sectors in the nominating committee. We can consider adding a sector of young people in the nominating committee. That's number 1. Secondly, the young people sector should be based on organizations of youths. Why? Because I was involved in youth organizations. In 2011, in the census, for those between 15 to 45 years old, we got around 45.56% of them. As for 15 to 24, 880,000 people. 25 to 34, 1.08 million. 35 to 45 years old, around 1.26 million people. Altogether, 3.22 million people. So I believe we should elect representatives from among them. So I'd like the Undersecretary to consider that option as far as possible. We all say that young people are our future. Therefore, I hope that we can have a new sector for young people in the nominating committee. That's very important. Mr. Wong Kong Ho. Thank you, Chairman. We have 6 suggestions in our submission for the composition of the nominating committee. We'd like to maintain the 4 sectors and 38 subsectors in the nominating committee, NC. As for number of members, method of election, electorate base of the sectors and subsectors, we would like to maintain the present situation. As regards the tenure of the nominating committee, it should be changed to 5 years, such that when the CE post is vacated, we can have a by-election. And for the CE election ordinance, we shouldn't add restriction to the political affiliation of the CE. As for the nominating committee, we should add one more stage, that is, to apply for candidacy, such that the qualifications of the potential candidates can be vetted. In accordance with Pt4, we should conduct vetting, then those who are willing to be accountable to the SARG, Basic Law, and PRC can be nominated. As for member nominated and member recommended candidates, we must first of all have the recommendation of 100 NC members. Then we need all the candidates to be voted upon one by one, and a 50% support from the nominating committee should be obtained for the election of 2 to 3 candidates for running for the CE post. So there should be 2 rounds of voting. If the elected CE is not appointed by the NPC, then the nomination process should start afresh. We should add in this re-election arrangement in the CE election ordinance. Ms. Wong, good afternoon. I'm honored to be able to represent the Hong Kong Chung-Hai residents. We should follow the Basic Law as well as the NPCSC decision. Let me explain 2 points. Number 1, the nominating committee should nominate the CE candidates. The formula should be divided into 2 stages: member recommendation and member election. 100 member support should be obtained for a CE candidate, and each NC member can only recommend 1 candidate, and each candidate can at most obtain the recommendation of 200 to 300 NC members. Then, in order that the NC can offer more choices to the electors, there should be secret balloting. To avoid NC members being threatened or lured or interfered in other forms, they need not be afraid of retaliation, and each NC member can cast 3 votes. This is easier to understand and operate. Number 2, the political affiliation of the CE. At the moment, Hong Kong does not have a party law. Therefore, we suggest to maintain what's in the CE election ordinance. That is, the CE must not have any political affiliation. Thank you. Mr. Chong Po Wan. Thank you, Chairman. I represent Oriental Benevolent Association. I speak in Putonghua. Universal suffrage in Hong Kong must abide by the Basic Law and the NPCSC decision. So I have the following suggestions. Number 1, the nominating committee should follow the existing rules. In the election of a new CE. Number 2, as for the electoral arrangements for the CE, the CE can be, the NPC can appoint or refuse to appoint the elected EC. Therefore, under the CE election ordinance, there should be additional provisions. That is, if an elected is not appointed by the NPC, there must be a re-election. The existing CE election ordinance should also be amended to make arrangements for such a scenario. Next, Ms. Chan Mei Si. Thank you, Chairman. I represent Hong Kong Hainan Danzhou Association. First of all, I have to say that the Universal Suffrage system in Hong Kong must abide by the Basic Law and the NPCSE decision. I have the following suggestions divided into two parts. First of all, about the composition and formation of the nominating committee, and then the electoral arrangements for the CE election. Under Part 1, there are 5 points. Number 1, the NC should be formed by 1,200 members. That's a clear regulation in the NPCSE decision. Number 2, for the CE election, we must follow the 4 sectors, 300 members each in the nominating committee. Number 3, the composition of each sector should remain the same with 38 subsectors. Whether or not to adjust the 38 subsectors, this is actually a minute detail and a trivial matters. We should reach consensus without being bogged down by that. Number 4, the number of members in each sector and subsector should remain the same. Any proposed increases will impact on the other sectors and subsectors. There will be far-reaching implications and will stand in the way of reaching a consensus. Number 5, formation and electoral method of the subsectors, we should maintain status quo. The electorate need not change either. Part 2, voting arrangements for the CE election. There should be 2 rounds of voting to ensure that the CE returned obtain a majority support of the electors. That will enhance the social recognition of the CE. Next, Mr. Lee Tang-Fung. Thank you, Chairman. We represent the deputation Tell-You Group. Why do we call ourselves Tell-You Group? Because the trio does not give regard to public opinion. The government always says that it wants to listen to mainstream public opinion. It asks us to pocket the package first. But then the other proposals have not been accepted. And then for launching constitutional reform, the government does not heed our advice as well. We want to improve the system so as to proceed further with democracy. They consulted the political parties and the legislature, but they did not consult and discuss with the CPG. And then for legislative amendments, the government does not heed public opinion. Basic law is also a piece of legislation. The government can actually ask the NPCSE to amend the basic law. I didn't see C.Y. Leung asking the NPCSE to amend the basic law. So the SARJ has neglected public opinion. A democratic society must talk about democracy. Apart from voting rights, we must talk about nomination rights, right to stand for election, right to be voted. The C.Y. Leung is duty-bound to tell a society that all these are basic rights under democracy. And now, members of the public are not clear about their rights. The government should discharge its responsibilities in this consultation exercise. Frankly speaking, I'm very disappointed. For the second round of consultation, if the government maintains that attitude and approach, many of us here will feel that this consultation exercise is a form of birdcage politics, so to speak. Then I suggest the government invite all members of the public to go to the Birds Park to appreciate the birds. If CY Leung is not a good CE, he should step down. Mr. C. Tak Loi. Thank you, Chairman. I'm from Exposing Fake Universal Suffrage More Than Counterfeit Alliance. Why do we give ourselves this name? Because we are very concerned about police officers acting like a benevolent mother, as they claim, in treating members of the public in the same way as they taught us how to differentiate fake notes from genuine notes. When it comes to universal suffrage, some officials have been describing fake universal suffrage as genuine universal suffrage. This is fake universal suffrage, fake constitutional reform package. Is the government cheating our people?
Let me explain to you why it's a counterfeited universal suffrage. The NPCSC said that in 2017 there would be universal suffrage. Unlike what is said in the present package, citizens are asked to pocket it first. Pocket what? Pocket what? It said that in 2024, 2014, 2047, there will be further enhancement. In 2017, we should have genuine universal suffrage, just like a genuine $1,000 note. You will get this is $1,000. But if somebody tells you, say this is fake, or if somebody gives you a $500 note or fake $500 note, will you accept it? Now you can use a watermark to distinguish whether it is a counterfeit or a true note. We can see that the nomination right is taken away. This is a counterfeited note. It is not genuine universal suffrage. In this consultation document, the government has taken away our right. We should be able to select the CE in 2017, but you turn it into a counterfeited universal suffrage. The right of nomination is taken away. Now you say you have this. This is true because it is one person, one vote, selecting the CE. But what is left for us? Now, if you have this, you can see that pay this according to the notes. We need true universal suffrage. Next, Ms. Stacy Chan. Last year, the administration introduced the consultation document and took this and consult people of Hong Kong. We didn't want that. We asked for civic nomination. We asked the administration in the new round in the election for the CE could include civic nomination element, but the administration said that civic nomination is in breach of the basic law. They said unlawful. They rejected civic nomination, but the administration didn't explain why. What did the 700,000 people who joined the referendum, what they wanted? They didn't respond to the occupation movement's call and demand. They just published this fake consultation report. It said that there were different views. Many views were considered that the general public considered electing the CE by universal suffrage is the precondition for electing the legislature by universal suffrage. This has never been said by the public that they prefer. They said that universal suffrage for electing a CE is a precondition or should go before the election of the legislature by universal suffrage. They just misrepresented the views of the public. And the decision by NPCSC on the 31st of August take away all the possibility of universal suffrage. They proposed that they decided that there should be the same 1,200 nomination, 1,200 member nomination committee. Now the so-called seized the opportunity, said that it is a universal suffrage, but in fact it is not. You dare to have the face to say it is called universal suffrage. You're just cheating. This is rubbish, and you asked us to eat it. This is just like the heartless merchants who sell toxic milk powder and ask us to feed toxic milk powder to our next generation. The officials who promote this rubbish package will be stingy down a thousand years. Now the history of Hong Kong will record this. We ask for true universal suffrage. We want true democracy. The best thing is C.Y. Leung step down. If he cannot do it, he cannot respond to the call of the people, then he should step down. Let somebody who is capable to do it. We don't want this faked universal suffrage. Next, Mr. Kwok Ka-ping. A few days ago, we read a piece of news. Mr. Li Fei said that this universal suffrage package is not ultimate. According to Article 45 of the Basic Law, there should be a broadly represented nomination committee. The ultimate aim is the selection of a chief executive by universal suffrage upon nomination by broadly represented nominating committee in accordance with democratic procedures. The ultimate package and the ultimate aim in the Basic Law is ultimate. Why is there a distance? If we just pocket it in 2017, then it said that the Basic Law that is ultimate. Why Mr. Li Fei said that the 2017 package is not ultimate and there is room for change? Can somebody explain that? The Basic Law says it's ultimate. How can they explain this? And the government mentioned rule of law. In 2004, there was the interpretation by the NPC. A 3-step process was changed into a 5-step process. The government says rule of law, but how can you defend this? This amendment of 3 steps to 5 steps is not in line with the Basic Law, but we are asked to protect the Basic Law, uphold the Basic Law, follow the Basic Law. How can the SARG defend the Basic Law, uphold the Basic Law against the change by the NPCSC? Mr. Wong Kah-hei, I am a student of the Hong Kong Suwon University. The premises is in IFC and also in Tsim Sha Tsui. After hearing the speeches by previous speakers, it seems that there's already got a model answer. There are many people from different sectors. They are just repeating the same words. They are identical. What they said are all identical. I have heard that many times before, and I find them all wrong. Their views are very specific, but they are specific and they are 80 to 90% the same. Even the words are very similar. This special meeting. This is a special meeting. Is it a consultative meeting? I thought that is a brainwashing meeting. They are just playing the same record again and again. The government made use of different kinds of people to express some outrageous views. We can see the yes men, yes women of the government. On the 31st of January, it was my birthday. Now, on that day, some councillors said that one shouldn't say they are the so-called resounding worms. And perhaps the Suan University couldn't have a better word for this. It's a resounding worm and echoing worm. We have seen echoing worms all over the place. They are echoing the government's decision. Now, if they have received money, they have certain ulterior motives, and you better act it in a better way. What is your view? Just don't care how people. Please soon comment on how people express their views. I respect the views of the people, but if you are to express your views, you should discuss the facts. You shouldn't waste our time. You're just repeating you're just repeating others' words. How can you blame the Pan-Democrats for filibustering if the pro-establishments are just repeating the words of one of them after another? This is fake consultation. This is suppression with violence. Mr. Wong Kai-yang, I'm a doctoral candidate studying public law. Now they criticize the School of Law. Well, let me speak on politics, and some will say that I'm the student of certain law professor. The majority of the law are passed by the Legislative Council. It is not made up of people who councillors who represented the majority view, and they all represent vested interests. They are just rubber stamps in passing the law. Now, the government just encourages blindly following the law. The Beijing government asks people to blindly follow the law, but they themselves don't follow the law, and they just ignore the rule of law. The government for a year or so has never said anything that is not in conflict with constitutional principles. The 31st of August decision made by the NPCSC has completely blocked anybody who can represent the public in participating in election. The Secretary for Constitutional and Mainland Affairs said that a clear framework has been set by the NPCSC is strictly in line with the basic law. But what in the basic law authorized the NPCSC to set a framework for the election of the CE? Article Section 7 of the Annex just say that if the election method is to be changed, then 2/3 of endorsement is to be obtained from the Council and approved by the NPCSC. If they strictly follow the basic law, the NPCSC has no power to screen the election system, set up an election system for the SARG. They are not follow the basic law. The government said that NPCSC's decision has the highest level of power. Some have repeated this. Now you said the government asked us to pocket it first. In 2022, the framework has a chance to be changed. If it can be changed in 2022, why can't it be changed now? Whether it's the NPC or NPCSC, according to Article 62 and 67 of the Constitution, they can overturn the decision. The government just turn the truth upside down and try to pull over our eyes, and they don't respect the Constitution or the basic law. They don't even have the moral courage to admit their own mistakes. Universal suffrage is basic right. The legislature should veto this fake package. Next, Ms. Lai Hoi-ting. Thank you, Chairman. All along has the administration want to provide really democratic package. In the Pan-Democrats, they say that some of them say that if the administration can abolish the functional constituencies in 2016, then the Pan-Democrats will give a quid pro quo and support the administration's package. Mrs. Carrie Lam, the CSVA, said that there wouldn't be any quid pro quo arrangement. The administration has taken away all room for compromise. The Pan-Democrats propose a compromise and asked the administration to discuss it. The administration just refused and just insisted on the NPC package. And it said that it would be too early to discuss the issue of abolishing functional constituencies. But since reunification, the community had been discussing the abolition of functional constituencies.
Can we have full democracy in our legislature? If we still favor the powerful and the rich, how will our society become? Will become a queer society, a bizarre society. If Mrs. Carrie Lam is not to make any compromise, will it be good to society? Apparently, the government's credibility will be subject to challenges. Our society will continue to be divided. Who created that division, the government or the people? Obviously, the government does not consider people's opinion. Even for your homework, you have a deadline. So when can we totally abolish the functional constituencies? The government has always been vague about this. There's no real answer from the government. So is the government committed to this? No. And therefore, our people will not be cheated by the government. We won't give up our struggle for democracy. Mr. Tam Tak Chi, from People Power. Yes, we have to reason. But let me tell you, this slogan to ask us to grasp the opportunity is deceitful. If the CCP is trustworthy, even pigs will climb up trees. The older generation told us not to trust the CCP, and now gates kept on being closed. And under the CCP, everything can be fake. Even universities can be fake. So the PRC is not qualified to ask us to believe that there will be changes. Mr. Rimsky-Yuen yesterday repeated the lies of the CCP. Well, just now I heard some deputations, including the pro-establishment camp, the loyalists, all know that CCP is not trustworthy. The most shameful aspect of such a ruling party is that although everybody knows that it's not trustworthy, everybody is telling lies to tell other people to trust it. Now we have this crisis of conscience. And Mr. Lau Kong-wah is rubbish, so we should not support this package. We should continue with our struggle such that the SARG will have difficulty in governance. We have to alert our people. We need not be afraid of the government smearing the Pan-Democrats, because they say that it's because of the Pan-Democrats who cause us to lose genuine universal suffrage. I distributed this leaflet yesterday in Tuen Mun, your constituency. I want genuine universal suffrage. I don't want to be a slave. Whoever supports your package is a fool. And somebody approached me to ask why I call them slaves. First of all, I don't call them slaves. It's their conscience asks us to pocket this fur, so they are slaves. And so they know this very well. There's a yardstick in everybody's mind. What is fake is fake. We must veto the fake. We must continue with the spirit of the umbrella movement. Whatever attack and struggle, the movement will flourish. It will blossom. the umbrella movement will be escalated. You took away my umbrella downstairs, but you see there are umbrellas throughout the LegCo. I still have an umbrella. Well, LegCo's Secretariat staff, please ask him to leave. Please ask him to leave. Well, we cannot allow breaches of the rules of procedure. Mr. Lai Pei-tak, Mr. Chairman, the CCP is adopting something that's not conducive to our country and people, and then they mention the rule of law. But laws are in their hands. Laws have been used by them as tools to suppress people. Power abuse and torturing its people are their approaches. So I think they are telling lies and rubbish. The whole basic law has set hurdles, and our room for maneuvering has been reduced. And now you can't even act as a human being. The CCP wants all Hong Kong people to be slaves. That must not happen. Only DAB and FTU members can serve as people who betray Hong Kong. They are slaves. This constitutional package is not about genuine universal suffrage. They're from the minds of slaves. They're against human nature. They're just like devils. Anti-humanistic, anti-moral organizations are not just those like ISIS. We have the CCP, North Korea. The CCP is economically powerful. It has adopted a very proud position in the world, but we're not afraid of them. I think CCP relies on Hong Kong more than Hong Kong relies on China. Here I'd like to warn the Hong Kong Communist ruling party. Communist rule must not happen in Hong Kong. For those who support fake universal suffrage, including the pro-establishment camp, the pan-democrats, they will be forsaken by the people of Hong Kong and will continue to struggle. For those who continue with their struggle, they will retaliate by way of votes. So I support genuine universal suffrage. We have to kick out fake universal suffrage as well as the loyalists. Next, Mr. Wang To. Thank you, Chairman. Today I'm here to express my views in this second round consultation. Well, concerning fake or genuine universal suffrage, the most important thing is rule by law. So the basic law is the fundamental. At the end of the day, we have to talk about reality. For the upcoming 2017 CA election, I'd like to put forth 3 points. First of all, concerning the composition of the nominating committee, we should follow the existing electoral methods, which have proved to be sound. As for the nomination procedure, I'd like that to be divided into 2 stages, the recommendation stage and the nomination stage. Each NC member can nominate how many people? Here, I'd like to set a restriction. Each NC member should nominate at least 1 candidate, but no more than 3. These are my views. Thank you. Mr. Lau Chi-hong, good afternoon. I'm representing the Hong Kong Christian Social Concern Alliance. We are formed by a group of Christians who support universal suffrage. At this public hearing, I was actually shocked because I see so many empty seats here. I don't understand why so many who have signed up are absent. Well, we can make a guess. This is just a false consultation. Those who have signed up for expressing their views believe that probably the government won't listen to them, so they'd rather treasure their own time. Given this scenario, I think the government should conduct a review. When your credibility is so low that members of the public do not trust you, then you're actually facing a serious political crisis. Our alliance is against the NPCSC decision. We're of the view that eventually this decision will make Hong Kong's so-called universal suffrage to be manipulated by the CPG, just like what's happening in North Korea. This is a fake election. Through a fake election, we can only return a fake CE. Then he will create fake public opinion. Then he'll be able to launch policies that damage the long-term development of Hong Kong, for example, in terms of national education and PL23. So this fake universal suffrage is extremely harmful to Hong Kong. It's harmful to the long-term interests of Hong Kong. Those who support the government will say that we should be restricted by the NPCSC and our mini-constitution. I have this question. Did the CCP amend its own constitution? Their constitution has been continuously amended. So why can't the NPCSC be amended? They're just launching a fake universal suffrage package. So our alliance is strongly opposed to this fake consultation as well as a fake package, constitutional package. Well, we need not guess the cause of the absence of those who have signed up. This has happened in the past. There are a lot of reasons behind their absence. Mr. Wan. Mr. Chairman, the composition of the nominating committee should follow the existing rules. There should be 1,200 members with 4 sectors. That's in accordance with the Basic Law and the NPCSC. As regards the composition of the subsectors, the existing EC of 38 subsectors should be maintained. Then we should model on the 4th term of the CE election. That will have a good guidance on our future political development. Within the same piece of legislation, the same word should carry the same meaning. So this constitutional package can address our future needs. We don't need to be too mindful about the trivialities. As for the EC, there should be balanced participation. At the moment, the electorate has been in place for quite some years. It has worked out well. If there's to be any change, we'll see more social conflicts. We need not expand the electorate by converting corporate votes into directors' votes or individual votes, because the sectors and subsectors as well as the FCs are to reflect the respective interest of the sectors or subsectors. As for how the NC should nominate candidates for the CA election, I think we should have a recommendation and nomination stages. 150 NC members would be required for recommendation. So one candidate should at least have 300 members support. Then members of the public and the NC will have more choices. As for casting of votes, it should be by way of secret ballots. This is to protect the interest of the candidates. Finally, about the democratic process for the nominating committee, NC members should be able to choose who they support.
I speak on behalf of the Fujian Association in respect of the election of CE by universal suffrage. After discussion, our association supported universal suffrage to elect the CE 2017. With regard to the administration's proposal, we have the following proposals. The political development and development in terms of electoral systems are according to the circumstances of place and should be developed step by step according to the prevailing situation. Many have given wild dreams. The discussion should be mutually respecting in order to make the discussion fruitful. As for the administration's proposal, this is about 2017. Some asked to abolish the proposal and restart the process. We don't find that practicable because time is limited. If the whole process is to be restarted, there will be no universal suffrage in 2017. One should learn from the experience of universal suffrage in 2017 and then move forward. The administration, or rather we should look at this solemn undertaking and we should keep improving the system. The government must pay attention to livelihood issues. There were opposing voices. They oppose the political system. But in fact, they oppose certain livelihood issues. If the administration can improve in terms of its livelihood policies, livelihood-related policies, and the political reform will go more smoothly. There are divided views. In respect of the political system, it shows that ours is a pluralistic society. But there is lack of respect towards different views. Publicity or propaganda should be stepped up. It should be based on facts. It should be based on the law. Many people do not have full grasp of information. There should be better publicity or propaganda of the basic law. The last one, who has come late, Mr. Yip Sing Ho. Thank you, Chairman. Concerning this democratic reform, we have to consider public opinion. In a year or so, public opinion is very clear. Now, there is a referendum. There was 1st of July, March, there was the Occupy movement. They showed that the people of Hong Kong want real choice. They want real or genuine democratic election. The government and the pro-establishment emphasize that it is a basic law issue, it is a matter of rule of law. One should not ignore the basic law. In 1990, when the NPC endorsed the basic law, they made a decision in respect of implementing the ICCPR and ICESCR in Hong Kong. It is not that we impose it on the companies. In fact, they all accepted it in the basic law. And also in the 1984 joint declarations, they also agreed that ICCPR and ICESCR should continue to apply to Hong Kong as it were before the unification. They said that there was no BORO, but you've agreed that all laws in force before 1997 should still remain in force after 1997. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. They agreed that the handover was 1997. After 1997, the laws of Hong Kong before 1997 continued to prevail. You cannot say you cannot have that transition. That doesn't make sense. As for interpretation of the NPCSC, the interpretation of NPCSC can only be based on the basic law and cannot go against the basic law. It is according to Article 25B of the IPCCR, ICCPR, and also according to BORO. That is universal and equal suffrage. And you should not breach that. Your interpretation, if your interpretation breach that, that is not constitutional. The government's attitude is not convincing. The administration keep saying that nothing can be made in decision of the future. The NPCSC already said that there will be universal suffrage in the future. The government is just inconsistent. We should comply with Article 62, 67. There should be amendment to the basic. There should be amendment to its decisions. Will I allow you to speak, though you are late, Mr. Yu Chung Tat? You're not going to speak? Okay. Ms. Wu Mei-lin. Thank you, Chairman. I speak on behalf of the Hong Kong Women Workers Association, a grassroots labor union. As a citizen, the citizen has the rights, and every citizen should be equal. The present proposal of maintaining a nomination committee with 1,200 people and 50% as the threshold for nominating a candidate is not appropriate because the electoral base of the nomination committee is just 200,000 odd people. This is not democratic. The proposal goes against the principles of democracy. The proposal by the administration just ignore people's demand. You ask us not to attack each other and promote political development. Shouldn't you respect each other? Even if you disagree with the Occupy movement, millions of people have stepped out and supported the Occupy movement. The call is very clear. The demand is very clear. But we have not seen the administration respecting that. Fair election is very important. The gap, the poverty gap, is very serious. Therefore, genuine universal suffrage is very important. Without a fair electoral system, society can't be fair. We see conspiracy between officials and business people. They have monopolized the room for free expression. They have monopolized the media. They have monopolized a lot of things. And that's why we are asking for a fair electoral system. Now, because the government is not nominated by us, not elected by us, the CE can say that he doesn't need to hear the views of those who make $14,000 per year or $14,000 per month. He just doesn't care about it because people just make such little money per month, and they have no right to vote. They have no right to vote for the CE. We come from the grassroots. We are not just contented with having a bowl of rice and having a job. We ask for revoking the NPCSC decision and restart the 5-step process. There should be a fair and just electoral system. There should be civic nomination, and there should be abolition of functional constituency. Next, Ms. Ng. Since reunification, whether it's C.Y. Leung, Donald Tsang, and C.H. Tung, they are favoring the business sector. This is not just about an individual. It is about the electoral process for the CE. Because of this lopsided electoral process, they are lopsided favoring the business sector. The 1,200 people election committee members do not represent the public, and in fact the places are monopolized by the consortia, the business groups, the big companies. If there are grassroots people who are members of the who become members of the election committee or nomination committee, then policy will favor the grassroots. That's the view of C.Y. Leung, and that in fact reflects the present predicament. If we do not change this small circle election, which is not representative enough, it goes against the spirit of democracy. There is little civic participation. The future CEs will be elected by groups that favor the business sector, and government policy will favor the business sector. We strongly oppose the decision of the NPCSC on the 31st of August. Even those who there are no representatives of women or the casual job workers in the nomination committee. We do not agree with the NPCSC decision. In the nomination process, grassroots workers should be represented, women should be represented. Otherwise, the government will just regard women and other ordinary workers as just the means of the big companies to make money. Now there's a yawning gap, the yawning poverty gap. There is also a gap in terms of participation in processes in policy making. We are not represented. We have no voice in the policy making process. We oppose pocketed fares. There should be civic nomination so that different sectors of the community can have the right to nominate the CE candidate, and the 3 gates should be removed. Now, after you have spoken, please put down your placards. After you have spoken, please put down your placards, your props. Next, Mr. Chen Chi-kit. The political reform consultation does not include the possibility of restarting the 5-step process. They maintain 4-sector, 1,200 nominating committee members, which is a small circle. The cleaning workers' union strongly oppose this. the majority of the nomination committee members or the present election, the future nomination members or the current election committee members represent big consortia, big business groups and big companies. If you want to be a candidate, you need to follow the instruction of the big companies. You need to formulate your manifesto according to the big companies.
Therefore, we're of the view that to have a democratic system will be able to cause the government to listen to the views of the grassroots. The best example is C.Y. Leung. He was returned by a small circle. C.Y. Leung's government did give us false expectation to grassroots workers, like standard working hours, abolition of the hedging mechanism between MPF contribution and severance payment and long service payment, etc., etc. He has not honored his promises. Why? It's because he is not returned by universal suffrage, so he would not help grassroots workers. Cleaning workers and grassroots workers suffer under the outsourcing arrangement. Their statutory minimum wage cannot sustain them. They can't afford to have a proper lunch. And we don't get standard working hours and other benefits. So we should start the 5-step process afresh and ask them to withdraw the NPCSC decision. The existing SARG is very good at twisting public opinion as well as creating false public opinion. For example, they say that public opinion support fake universal suffrage. Mr. Ng Chung Tat, would you like to speak now? First of all, I'm only a child of a grassroots worker who does not earn more than 14,000 people. The second round consultation is meaningless. The government is giving us rubbish, and then it asks us, what do you want me to hold this rubbish with? A bowl, a plate? And would you like to have a fork or a pair of chopsticks to eat it? Well, food waste is food waste. You cannot turn it into salad. At present, the tycoons have all the say. When you say balanced participation, you only mean balanced participation among the rich and the powerful. You're not talking about the grassroots. And after so much discussion, you told me standard working hours is very important. I, of course, know it. And then when the LegCo discussed paternity leave, Mr. Matthew Chung even threatened the LegCo by saying that if 7 days were supported, he would withdraw the bill. And people criticized the pan-democrats. In fact, the loyalists give the green light to the 3 landfills and 1 incinerator, as well as the Innovation and Technology Bureau. Some political parties in Tuen Mun say that they oppose the Tuen Mun landfill, but when it comes to voting, they cast a supporting vote. I don't understand that. So how can we believe that the nominating committee will reflect the opinion of the 7 million people of Hong Kong or the voice of the grassroots? Well, I won't say rubbish today. Let me say this. I want a nominating committee that can represent public opinion, and we want genuine universal suffrage. Mr. Chen Chi-kit, would you please put down your placard? Well, all deputations and individuals have spoken. I'd now like to ask the Undersecretary for Constitution and Mainland Affairs, Mr. Lau Kong-wah, to briefly respond to the views of the deputations and individuals. Mr. Lau Chi-hung. No slogan, please. This is our rule. When you express your views, you can take that out. But after you have spoken, you've finished speaking, you should put it down. Yes, please be cooperative. Mr. Lau, Undersecretary. Again, I'd like to thank the deputations and friends for offering a great deal of advice to us in relation to the composition of the nominating committee, the nomination procedure, what should happen if the elected seat is not appointed by the NPC, etc., etc. In the course of listening to your views, I want to say that even though we have different views, we should have mutual respect. Many friends said that we should observe the Basic Law and the NPCSC. They don't want to maintain status quo for constitutional development. Although the present package is not perfect, they would like to see improvement in future gradually. Well, there are different views and criticisms about the constitutional package in front of us. Let me clarify certain facts first. Well, we can have different views, but clarification of facts will benefit future discussions. One of the friends here read thoroughly our document, namely the report. He raised one point. That is, in the consultation report, it said that after having universal suffrage for the CE election, the legislature can also be returned by universal suffrage. He asked why universal suffrage for the CE election must come before universal suffrage for the legislature. He did not find that in the Basic Law. But in fact, if we read the 2007 NPCSC decision, then you see that it's clearly stipulated that Hong Kong should have a timetable for universal suffrage for CE election. For the 5th CE election in 2017, Hong Kong can have universal suffrage. After the CE is returned by universal suffrage, the legislature of the Hong Kong SAR can also adopt universal suffrage to return all members of the legislature. That means in 2017, we should first elect the CE. After finishing that step, we can have universal suffrage for the legislature. So, there is a sequence. Similarly, some of the deputations asked why we don't abolish the functional constituencies in the LegCo at the same time. It's precisely because of the NPCSC decision in 2007 that we have to follow that sequence. Mrs. Carrie Lam sincerely said that she would like our discussions to be pragmatic. We should take the first step first before we come on to universal suffrage for the legislature. So I would like you to understand this point. Another friend raised another point about the NPCSC decision. He asked whether there's any statutory base for that decision. Those who know the Basic Law understand that Hong Kong is a special administrative region of the PRC, and the NPCSC decision is, of course, legally based. We have this 5-step process. Even after the 3rd step, we still need the approval of the NPCSC in the 5th step. So we need to have the participation of the CPG, the SARG, and the LegCo. Now that's the framework laid down by the NPCSC. If we don't have support from a 2/3 majority from the LegCo, things won't work. And even with a 2/3 majority from the LegCo, if we don't get support from the NPCSC in the fifth step, it won't work either. So we'd like to proceed with this 5-step process properly. And a number of grassroots friends here spoke their mind. I understand their points. In the past, our CE was returned by an election committee of 1,200 members only. They consider that unsatisfactory. Precisely because of that, we would not like the CE to be returned by 1,200 members anymore. We want 5 million people to return the CE. But you would say nomination is still made by 1,200 persons. Anyway, the candidates will have to face 5 million eligible electors. Do we have more grassroots or more businessmen in the 5 million electorate? So 5 million is always better than 1,200. Well, 4 members have raised their hands. Ms. Claudia Mo, Mr. Chan Chi-chun, Dr. Chang Lai-wan, and Dr. Kwok Ka-ki. 5 minutes each. Ms. Claudia Mo. I'd like to see clarification on one point first. Earlier, Mr. Tam Tak Chi from People Power said that when he came for this public hearing, our security guards did not allow him to take an umbrella in. When did we first start to have this rule? Because his opening of an umbrella is actually his freedom. You're asking me, was that your decision? Yes. We had the same arrangement last Saturday because we are worried that we don't know what action will follow if we allow people to bring umbrellas in, because here we don't have water seepage. We don't need an umbrella. So you think an umbrella is a weapon? Well, troublesome events may happen. Well, but these glasses are also dangerous. Well, if they are dangerous, you can just drink the water. Oh, you can drink the water, but you can't drink the glasses, the cups. Why can't we allow umbrellas? Well, but he got his umbrella. Well, we didn't discover that, but we asked him to leave already. Yes, I know. I saw that. Would you please ask your question? Just now, Mr. Lau Kong-wah asked, hey, for the functional constituencies and universal suffrage for the legislature, you people didn't read the documents clearly. The NPCSC decision is very clear. You should pocket the so-called universal suffrage first for the CE election. Then you get universal suffrage for LegCo election. Well, this is some form of holding us hostages. You're threatening us. You're asking us to have universal suffrage for functional constituencies, which are not going to be abolished. Among functional constituencies, they collude to nominate certain candidates, and then they ask the people of Hong Kong to choose among those candidates. They say this is a good bargain, so we should pocket it first. Can we have some responses from Mr. Lau Kong-wah, the Undersecretary? Can we have some comments from him? Undersecretary, concerning Ms. Mo's remarks, I have to clarify that I didn't say that that friend had not read our documents well. I just want to state the facts. Ms. Claudia Mo asked about the functional constituencies in this council. How will they be handled? After we have universal suffrage in the 2017 CA election, if we are to have universal suffrage, then in 2017 we'll have a CE returned by universal suffrage. That CE will be constitutionally bound to proceed with universal suffrage for the legislature. So this CE will have to proceed with the 5-step process to handle the issue of universal suffrage for the legislature. How should that be handled? What about direct elections in the geographical constituencies, etc., etc.? Well, he's repeating himself. I want to know his comments about this view of universal suffrage for functional constituencies. And the Secretary, I was answering that question. I hope Ms. Mo will give me a chance to answer that. For remarks like universal suffrage for functional constituencies, etc., I believe later when we start another 5-step process, we'll have to consult the public and finish the 5 steps.
Then Ms. Mo can also give her view. Next, Mr. Chen Chi-chun. Thank you, Chairman. I thank those who come to the consultative meeting. Though people feel that it's a fake consultation, speaking here is useless. But your attendance is very important. This morning, the majority support the 31st of August decision. This session, more against the 31st of August decision. Public opinion is really very divided. Don't use public opinion to pressurize LegCo members that public opinions are in favor of the political package proposed by the government. Quality and quantity are equally important. The representative of Mr. Wong Kai-hing of the Siwan University made a certain observation, and I do agree with him. For those who support the 31st of August decision, their speeches are similar. 90% are similar. Now, when we receive opinion written submissions, if we find them the same, if we find they are exactly the same or similar, then we also highlight this point. I think your observation maybe another Mr. Wong who come from another village, or rather these people, they may come from the same village or villages nearby, and therefore they have similar views. Mr. Wong Kai-yang, who is studying in law school, I want to share this view with. I want to discuss with you concerning the 5 steps. I don't know whether you understand the second step or not, and that is, it is for the NPCSC to decide whether amendments are to be made to the election of the CE and election of LegCo. The NPCSC has done more. It's not just whether or not to amend. It is they have already amended the arrangement. Some say the NPCSC is the highest legislative body. Therefore, it can do this. I think the rule of game has been set. You can change the rule of the game, but you have to follow the rule of game first. Otherwise, if you just change the rule of the game all the time, then how can we play the game? I just agree with Mr. Wong. Ask Mr. Wong whether he agrees with me or not. Mr. Wong, I think Mr. Chen has made a good observation. The 2004 BL interpretation by the NPCSC refers to the fact that the CE should make a report whether the there should be amendment to Annexes 1 and 2, and then the NPCSC will confirm whether there is a need to amend. There is no provision that the NPC should amend the Annex. They have no power to set out a framework. the NPC is the highest legislative body in China. The basic law is endorsed by the NPC endorsed the basic law, and the NPC is above the NPCSC. Now the NPCSC has amended the basic law. Of course, the NPC is a rubber stamp. The NPCSC has done something ultra-virus. It is unconstitutional. The Undersecretary, what is your view on this point? The Chairman, in the consultation process, we have found that some friends are just selective with regard to NPCSC decisions and the basic law. Sometimes they say they pick the NPCSC decision, sometimes they pick the BL. We keep emphasizing that the development of our political system has to be according to the decisions of the NPCSC and the BL. The BL is a framework. It doesn't mention the timetable. It doesn't mention when we will have the Universal Suffrage to elect the CE. It is exactly the decision of the NPCSC in 2007 that the timetable was provided. You cannot see that was ultra-virus. The NPC is the supreme body with regard to legislation or the Constitution. Now this is the second step made by the NPCSC in respect of the election of the CE. We made a report on several issues, and basing on the consultation, they made the decision. This was not the first time. In 2010, with regard to a framework, in respect of the LegCo, we followed the NPCSC's decision, and therefore we came up with this 5-step. It was based on the decision of the NPCSC. Finally, with regard to the 5-step process, there is a need to have the CE, the LegCo, and the NPC to work together. You may say this is even checks and balances, but finally it is the approval of the NPCSC. And the 5 steps are favorable to implementing the political reform. Ms. Chen Lai-Wei. Just now I heard some friends said that CY Leung was elected by a small circle of 1,200 people. They were not happy with the system. I have been a member of the election committee for many years. I fully understand the operation of the election committee. When there is the CE election, I am not happy. I am the only one who can cast a vote. My father, my family members, my relatives have made a huge contribution to the community, but they didn't have the right to vote for the CE. We keep saying this. We keep reflecting the views. This time, the power of the election committee, at least half of the power of the election committee, is given to the public. The nomination committee can nominate 2 or 3 candidates. At the end of the day, of the 2 to 3 candidates who can be the CE, will be something to be decided by the 5 million voters. The political reform is a very important one. If we do not do it well, it will have adverse impacts on the community. Therefore, gradual and orderly progress is very important. I therefore support the package. And I understand this, and I also heard this. Some say you may choose, nominate Chiang Lai-wan, Christopher Chong, and the like. I have never considered standing for election for the CE. In fact, the DAB has never filed a candidate. The Civic Party, the Democratic Party did. You don't need to be too worried. In fact, we are in a very keen competition. To become a candidate, he will first has to get at least 100 nomination committee members to support him. And after being a candidate to be, he will have to get 600 votes to be a candidate. There may be 3 of them who can do so, and then they will have to face 5 million voters before they can become the CE. Should the CE be guarded by so many tight restrictions in overseas countries, they may have a rather open system. Say in Philippines, even a comic artist had become a president, and he couldn't do his job, and therefore he stepped down after a few months. In some countries, some who didn't have any experience in politics were elected. Is it good to follow others' practice? Should we not have something of our own? As for the 1,200 nomination committee members, they are not appointed. I'm glad to explain it to you in detail if there is an opportunity. As for those who can become the 1,200 nomination committee members, they have to fight very hard to do it. The biggest Hong Kong General Chambers of Commerce, they only get 10 into the nomination committee. But there are thousands of members. And among thousands of members, they will have to fight on many levels before 10 can get into the nomination committee. Within the nomination committee, there are many capable people. I got 47,000 votes before I can become a nomination committee member. You have to look into each and every candidate or each and every member. It's not so simple as saying it, as calling it a conspiracy between officials and the business people. That's my view. Mr. Dr. K.K. Kwok. Well, I am woken up by Ms. Cheng. Please, order, please. She seems to be very capable of describing it vividly. It's difficult. If you belong to the insurance sector, you cannot become a nomination. If you do business, if you in the working, if you are in working class, you can't become a nomination committee member because the FTU calls the shots. Even if you are a farmer, you cannot be a member of nomination committee because the farmers groups call the shots. Now we need to be the basic law allows us to have universal and equal suffrage. But what they are doing is just a kind of magic. They can change whatever they like. They change a 3-step process into a 5-step process. In the future, they can have a 7-step or even 9-step process.
Now, the BL, it didn't anticipate what people are doing now. I think Deng Xiaoping would turn over in his grave if he knew what's happening now. We are asked to trust him. Now, after 2016 and then 2017, then we have universal suffrage. That's what they say, and it's very interesting. They say that universal suffrage has to be on the basis of functional constituencies. Now, this is a small circle dealing. Now, Ms. Chang don't belittle yourself. Your former party chairman said you and Chung Shu-ken and C.Y. Leung can be on the list. Now, you three would fit in well. You can be CE, so don't belittle yourself. Now, but other Hong Kong people cannot look forward to the same. Now, I was very much against it when Mr. Lau Kwong Wah said that, well, it's you who don't want this. Now, but if you swallow this poison, I will give you universal suffrage. Now, he's going to use a second dose of poison so that the agricultural and fishery sector, now that person who looks unlike a farmer, now, or you might be offered to choose from Mr. Wong Yong Kan and Ho Chun Kit. Now, what kind of universal suffrage is this? I think we need to swallow August 31 decision. If we swallow that, we will die right away. Well, they say if you don't want it, then you have election by 1200. Now, Ms. Chang said that she didn't like the election by 1200. Now, of course, all Hong Kong people want election by 5 million people. Now, but you are playing the game. You just give us 2 or 3 people to choose from that people don't want. Now, the Undersecretary should respond to Ms. Wu Mei-lin and Chen Chi-kit. Their wording is quite clear. Well, actually, did you listen to him? Now, what is it that you want him to respond? Because I saw that he seems to be dozing off when Chen Chi-kit was sleeping. Undersecretary, I believe Dr. Kwok kept using the word die. Now, that's not very auspicious. Now, secondly, I never doze off. I am paying full attention to every speaker. Please let him speak. Okay. Maybe I think Dr. Kwok, you were sleeping or dozing off. Now, when the chairman asked me to speak in a succinct manner about the issues, I did respond in quite a lot of detail to the speakers. So I may not be able to canvass them here and now, but I did make the point that out of the 5 million electors, there are a large number of grassroots electors among them. If you want the future candidate to get the support of the grassroots electors, now you should pay attention to that ratio. Now, Mr. Kwok Ka-ki said that I didn't respond and that I was dozing off. I think that's unfair. Mr. Yip Kwok Him. Thank you, Chairman. Now, I very much welcome all the deputations here expressing their views. In our society and in LegCo, we like to hear the views from all sides. Just now, when Dr. Kwok came in, he started airing his grand views. Now, I don't know how long he has been sitting here. As soon as he came in, he spoke in such a grand manner. Now, the member expressed admiration for the views of So Kai-hei. Sorry, it's Mr. Wong Kai-hei. Now, you appreciate the views of Soman University. Now, what appreciate is the truth. Now, how can the graduates of Soman universities Soman University expressed the truth. Now, another speaker said that the BL didn't authorize the MPCSC to speak. Now, he seems to be a doctoral student at University of Hong Kong. Now, this shows a very poor understanding of the Basic Law, a constitutional document, especially if you are a doctoral student. Article 58 of the BL says very clearly the interpretation is within the power given to the MPCSC. It's free to interpret the Basic Law under Article 58. So when you express your views, you must have good grounds for what you are saying. Now, we support the August 31st decision. We support now those who support the scope of the consultation, I would like to ask you, now the consultation document says that there will be a platform through which more of the public can participate in the democratic procedures. Can you give more views in this regard? Anyone? Thank you, Chairman. Anyone wishes to supplement? Now he wants somebody who supports August 31st decision to speak. Are you aware of that? Now, I am the chairman. Now, the member who asked the question, said that he would like the response to come from that group of members. Please follow the rules of this hearing. It's not the time for you to speak now. It's not yet time for you to speak. Any supporter of the August 31st decision who wishes to speak? No need? Mr. Wong Wan To, is it? Well, it seems that Dr. Kwok is not here. Now, on Mr. Yip's point, I haven't considered it fully, as the chairman said. We speak here without the protection of the relevant legislative provisions or ordinance. So I cannot speak without having carefully considered my thoughts. Anyone in the first round? No. Ms. Claudia Mo in the second round, 3 minutes. Now, those students who are against the August 31st decision, especially the two students from City University, Kwok Ka Peng and Lai Hoi Peng. Now, you are asked to pocket the decision first. It means that it's not very good, but you pocket it first. Now, just now when you spoke, you insist that this is final, it cannot be improved. Now, what makes you so convinced that that's the case, that you are being tricked? Mr. Kwok? Now, why do I think so? It's very simple. A government of Hong Kong it's always elected by the 1,200 people, or maybe not ever, but it's still a small circle election that elects the government. Now, since the reunification in 1997, we know how many problems there have been. Now, even if we pocket the decision first, ultimately it's the 1,200 people who nominate.
即係全部都係好即係總之我唔知咩嘢 OK 即係總之係好有力嘅，即係唔打撐死先揀嗰千人，好有理想嘅。咁我想問，即係佢嗰個理想同埋同我哋即係小市民嗰個理想係咪真係一樣嘅咧？咁一樣嘢係我即係一直以嚟都想講嘅嘢。咁仲有一個位就係頭先關於話最終同埋終極嗰樣嘢，就係其實阿劉江華都冇同我解釋過，就係點解即係基本法上面寫到最終達至即係一個提名委員會，即係佢係最終達至一個提名委員會同埋一個即係普選，呢個係一個基本法上面寫到明嘅最終一個嘅即係一個方案嚟㗎嘛。咁而家去到07年，即係17年，如果我哋袋住先嘅話，咁呢一個方案照道理應該係基本法上面列明嘅最終嘅一個方案。咁但係李飛佢都話，即係呢個係終極嘅方案，其實係仲可以修改嘅，即係呢個唔係一個終極嘅方案。咁我真係好有疑問，就係點解可以即係有咁嘅？即係終極同最終嗰個分別究竟喺邊度咧？咁我真係唔係好明白啦，所以都希望可以聽到即係官員嘅解釋嘅。其實
或者等主席可唔可以黎海婷同學？
係，你仲有少少時間。你想揾邊位？
同學都答埋先，黎海婷。
究竟你話831方案可唔可以袋住先呢？作為一個而家讀緊書嘅學生，係完全唔可以袋住先嘅。首先，就算俾咗831方案，我哋好似有一票去揀啦。咁究竟就好似啱啱郭家麒醫生咁講啦。咁究竟我哋揀嘅係啲乜嘢候選人呢？經過篩選嘅候選人，呢一個篩選係咪合理呢？好明顯，人大落閘嗰啲條件，嗰啲篩選嘅條件係唔合理嘅。而究竟基本法所講嘅達至平等嘅選舉究竟可唔可以做到呢？其實根據831係完全做唔到嘅喎。咁究竟點解我哋仲要袋住先呢？咁啱都講啦，可以修改。咁如何修改啊？究竟到幾時我哋先可以修改啊？呢一啲咁所謂好似一啲 promise 嘅嘢，但係其實係冇完全咁樣應承我哋香港人嘅喎。咁到時候我哋過咗831，咁之後我哋究竟係咪保證可以改呢？呢個完全係我哋不能夠相信咯。時間夠啦，
蔣麗芸議員。
唔該啊，主席。其實咧，而家我哋即係經過好多輪，即係我哋同呢個即係泛民啲議員啦，咁咧就大家作咗好多次溝通。咁其實大家好重要嘅即係有啲唔同嘅，最主要咧就係好似正如大家咁講啦，就係提名委員會嗰個提名方法啦。咁咧就我屬於建制派。我認為嚟講咧，任何一個將來選特首嘅人咧，我覺得好重要咧，係佢要懂經濟啦，同埋行政管理經驗啦。咁我覺得係非常之重要嘅，甚至佢最好喺政府部門做過，或者係行政立法會做過，呢啲都係好重要嘅。因為我自己雖然即係都叫做過好耐嘢嘅人，但係咧我加入咗立法會，我發覺咧有好多嘢係同外界所了解嘅政府部門嘅工作，或者係我哋立緊法嘅有啲政策嘅事務，其實係好唔同嘅。咁所以因此咧，就你話通過一個提名委員會，即係我哋只係希望能夠保證選到一個咧係真係即係對呢方面有充足經驗嘅人，因為呢個始終係一個叫首長級嘅人啦，即係唔可以即係好輕易咁做到，呢個係我認為嘅。甚至我曾經同朋友講笑，我話一定好似考狀元咁考要過3關斬6將，佢一定要好叻仔，你先至可以做到咁。咁唯一我同毛孟靜議員我哋嘅觀點唔同呢，就係毛孟靜議員呢就認為 OK 總言之呢，就係佢要嘅提名方法就係呢個譬如長毛議員都能夠可以當選嘅。咁呢一個係好清楚，佢喺立法會大會度講過嘅事。咁即係呢個係佢嘅即係睇法啦。咁所以咧，佢話任何人提名 OK 全香港700萬市民個都可以做提名。咁大家你要知道，真係用呢個方式嘅話，第一你始終都係要即係都係要篩選，因為你700萬人嘅話，咁你話譬如裏邊即係 即係要幾多咧？1萬人提一個嘅話，咁你都有700個出咗嚟啦，係咪？啱唔啱啊？咁呢700個係咪一齊企喺個台上俾大家去揀咧？係咪？唔可能噶嘛！咁你始終都係有個篩選程序嘅 ，OK？咁你都係呢個委員會都係要成立一個可能一個 committee 去做呢啲工作。咁啊係，所以呢一樣嘢咧，即係我覺得咧就即係好難去避免咯。咁另外咧，即係我亦都可以同大家講啦，因為香港而家咧，我哋冇辦法，因為香港好多經濟嘅命脈咧係控制喺呢個即係叫做係中央。其實而家成個股票市場你裏邊所有嗰啲大企業全部都係北京嘅大企業，你冇辦法喎。咁你話我哋係咪唔好完全發展經濟，乜都唔做咧？咁假如係咁，我又好擔心喎。喂，你民生而家日日都講緊錢噶嘛，好多基層要幫手噶嘛。所以咧，我哋亦都好驚咧，選咗一個完全都冇辦法同中央去做溝通嘅。好老實講，可能連回鄉證都冇，溝通咩咧？
好，郭家麒議員，
主席，咁啊，聽完啦。
I think we understand now why was Obama elected to be the president. He's never worked in EXCO or LegCo. Mao Zedong had never contested the LegCo election. So were Mao Zedong and Zhou Enlai. They will all not be qualified. The only person is C.Y. Leung, who had once served as an EXCO member. So having heard such, fallacious arguments, one can easily be confused. I think I have wrongly blamed the Undersecretary. I think he was actually meditating. He wasn't dozing off. So I'll now give him another chance. I asked him a question earlier about what Chen Chi-kin and Wu Mei-ying talked about. He said that the small circle election now, at the moment, cannot enable those people who are earning 14,000 people to have their aspirations reflected. So how many such people are there? I don't want the Undersecretary to speak first. I like Mr. Ng or Mr. Ng to speak first. Do you think what Mr. Lau Kong-wah, regarding what Mr. Lau Kong-wah said just now, do you think he had responded to what you were asking? Well, I don't think they have responded to our points. I'd like to also add that among the grassroots, many of us have our own aspirations. We have all actively, tried to fight for a better future for Hong Kong. So the grassroots certainly have the ability and the ability to nominate a candidate. And I don't think they have responded to my questions why they have ignored the ability of the grassroots people to make such nominations. I think the Undersecretary has not responded to the aspirations I expressed just now. I think the government is now belittling the wisdom of those at the grassroots level. C.Y. Leung once said that those earning less than 14,000 people doesn't need to have the right to nominate a CE candidate. Namely, those at the rank and file level, shouldn't have the right to make nominations. So I hope the Undersecretary can respond to our aspirations. Or those earning less than $14,000 a month. Undersecretary. Could somebody switch on her microphone? Thank you. The Undersecretary has not responded to our point. We're emphasizing the point that we support universal suffrage, but we're not talking about nomination. I understand among the 5 million voters, does the workers form the majority or the consortium? The question is who will nominate the candidates. I mean, in one case, you have ATV where the bosses are not paying their employees, and the other one is Cheung Kong, who is exploiting the workers. So if we are asked to actually elect a candidate from amongst the candidates who are not nominated by us, and if they only come from the business consortia, then they will simply not respect the rights of the working people. Under Secretary, I don't think there's time any more time for that. No. All right, don't respond now. Because somebody had put up the hand, I also had not allowed him or her to speak. So after the Undersecretary has responded, we'll wrap up this session of our discussion. I must apologize first of all that I may not be able to respond to each and every point made today, but I would like to respond to the question raised by the student just now. I think all those who spoke just now would agree that even if you disagree with the decision, you would have agreed that this proposal eventually contained the element of a one man, one vote element. I think that is a common objective for all of us. Our difference now lies in how the candidate should be nominated, and that has been the source of the controversies. So even though among the 4 sectors within the nomination committee, one of which is the labor sector, the labor sector actually can return 60 seats. The other sectors can also, return several dozen seats. For the 38 subsectors, they all can return, elect the respective number of candidates to the nomination committee. And to respond to the point made just now, if today we endorse this proposal, then our common objective can be achieved. But the argument regarding nomination, whether or not we can further enhance that arrangement in future, and this is what we mean by the further enhancement of the system going forward. But if today we argue over the different methods of nomination and sacrifice our common objective, then I think that would be a pity. That is the main point I was making. Well, we need to prepare for the 5th session. So once again, I'd like to thank all the deputations and individuals for coming. We will start the 5th session.